Welcome to the Grow Renaissance podcast. Let's nourish the world.
All right, welcome back to Pasture Prime Time with Neil, where we're exploring the roots and the future of regenerative agriculture, one story, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Neil, in case you've forgotten, and today we're zooming out a bit to take a look at the bigger picture behind the plate. We're here today joined by Louis De, and I'm going to say your name incorrectly. What is your last name? I should have asked that.
Louis De Jaeger.
Louis De Jaeger. Thank you so much. Very privileged to have him on, a regenerative landscape architect, author of and founder of Future Proof Landscape Design, a new book that just was published. So congratulations on that. We look forward to hearing all about it. Louis is on a mission to radically rethink how we use land, turning our gardens, our farms, our forests, our cities into thriving ecosystems, starting with the soil. Louis is joining us today all the way from Belgium, and I am sitting in Canada. So Louis, thanks for joining us today. Really looking forward to this conversation and hearing a bit more about your book, but really your experiences that have led you to put some of your thoughts on paper.
Hey Neil, super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So maybe you could give just a bit of a background to our audience on how you came to be so intimately involved with soil and why it was a driving passion for you to help us rebuild our systems.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that really shook my entire understanding on soil life and human health as the connection between the two is when somebody said to me, Louis, you're not a human. That was that was like one of the things that really kept me thinking. I was like, what the heck? I'm not a human. Sorry, what did I do wrong? And it's yeah, don't worry. I'm also not a human. Like humans don't really exist. And I was like, okay, now you got me even more puzzled. And then she said, well, we actually exist of more non-human cells in our body than human cells. And the first time I heard it, I couldn't really believe it because you look at yourself and you see human cells, right? But then the science actually checks out. We have at least as much non-human cells as human cells, and probably even much more. And these are the ones that actually keep us happy. And then we had a very deep conversation about how that came to be, and then the answer to it, where do all these little organisms, the microorganisms, comes from, those that keep us healthy and happy. And then then she said, well, it comes from a healthy soil. If our soils are not healthy and we don't have soil life, this soil life is not on plants, so hence not in our food, and so we cannot eat it. And if we can't eat it, it will not be present in our body, and we actually will become sick. And for me, that was like, you can't talk about soil if you don't talk about human health. In every discussion about soil health, human health should be in that same discussion. If not, you're not really talking about something concrete.
Yeah.
So that really kicked me in the butt and made me go on a mission to restore land.
I love it. And it's so true. I mean, I do a lot of speaking, as some of our audience knows, around North America, under this sort of food is health, and that's kind of what you're talking about.
100%.
The title of your book itself, Future Proof Landscape Design, suggests resilience and long-term thinking. But we live in a world of quick fixes. How do you keep the conversation with farmers and gardeners and communities and policymakers focused on the big picture and not just the short-term aesthetics that we want to see, nice curated lawns? How do you in specific keep focused on going beyond the quick fixes?
Yeah, well, definitely. So I think I founded my company around 8 years ago, with, like you say, the mission future proof landscape designs. And the thing is, you have different drivers in people's lives. People do things for certain reasons, and Um, Most of our clients actually they want to do something good for this planet with their piece of land.
Mm.
So they or have a tiny plot of land, like a garden of maybe 1,000 square feet, even a very small one.
Hmm.
But we're also regenerating an entire private island in Argentina, for example. That's about more than 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing that they have in common is they see things happening in the world. They see shit hitting the fan, and they say, "Okay, what can I do about it?" And you always have to look in your own circle of influence, because if you watch the news, you would get insane if you watch it too much, because you can't stop that war, you can't stop that war, you can't stop that injustice, you can't do that. But if you only look at the things that you can't do, then you get mad, because we want to fix things. We're human. We want to fix things. So they ask themselves the question, okay, I know I can't do all these things, but I do know what I can change. And what can I change? My garden, my private island, if you're lucky to have
Right.
one, or
Yeah.
my agriculture estate that I have. And for that, we actually believe that it is super important that it's not only regenerative, but it's also beautiful.
Hmm.
And it's all about the balance. So you don't want something that's entirely regenerative in the sense of rewilding, because then you need a machete to go in your garden or in your plot of land. Most people like think it's a bridge too far. And you also don't want manicure lawns with zero flowers in it, where you have to spray uh, herbicides, because that's not only killing your dogs and killing yourself in the long term,
Yeah.
but it's also just killing nature and killing everything around it. And it's also super ugly to just have this green concrete, what I like to call this sterile lawns.
Yes.
But you do need some order, you do need some paths, and you do need things that are easy maintenance, and that balance, I think, is what's the most important thing. Is that, okay, we need to save the soil. That's also, like you said, the title of the book, SOS Save Our Soils. You need to save the soil, but you also need a place that's nice for humans to walk in, to easy for humans to work in, to harvest if you're a farmer, or if you're a gardener, to pick the berries. And so, yeah, it's all about the balance. I sometimes call it like uh, orderly chaos.
I like that. Orderly chaos. Yeah. Organized persistence is sort of a model that I sort of take on my
Love
farm,
it.
which is, we have to continue moving forward, but we need to be organized about how we, tactfully position that. So if
Yeah.
you had a magic wand, I mean, you talk a lot about in your book, edible food forests, let's call it, and edible cities. I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about soil structure. What, with your magic wand, what's one of your ideas that you would want to implement that would scale tomorrow, and why would that one thing be the thing that you choose?
Hmm. Oh yeah, there's so many things I would do, and I would have a magic wand. I I always try to look at what's like the thing that most people agree on, and the nice thing is I have this actual like little sociological experiment I call a company. So we
Hmm.
design landscapes for people who are more on the left side of politics, more on the right side of politics, very religious people, very atheistic people, people who are billionaires, people who are just average Janes and Joes. And the thing is, they all have a thing in common, and it's that we all want our children to be happy.
Right.
We all want our children to be healthy. We all want to breathe in clean air, and we all want to live long and happy lives and feel good. We all want freedom. Everybody wants freedom, and especially if you go to United States or Canada, freedom is something that's very high valued.
Yeah.
And that's a common ground, that no matter where in society you are, that's a thing we have in common. Nobody wants their children to become sick. Maybe very few individuals maybe want that, but most people want their children to be healthy.
That's
and
right.
uh, and that's, if I would have a magic wand, I would make sure that everybody on this planet just knows that whatever we put on our soil, we put in our body.
Right.
And the soil is an extension of our body in
Yeah.
the broadest sense of the word. And if we would know that if you put a fungicide on our soil, we put it in our own body, and these fungicides kill the fungi that should live in our body and that actually is keeping us healthy,
Yeah.
then we would ban fungicides today. The same with pesticides. We would ban them today if everybody would know that it's literally putting poison on food. If you say to a 5-year-old and say, "Hey, Tommy, let's get outside. Look, this is your apple. Look,
Yeah.
this is poison. I'm now gonna spray this poison on the apple. Now eat the apple."
Mm,
No, you
wouldn't
won't
happen.
eat that
Yeah.
apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Exactly.
No, nobody that is thinking logically would eat that apple. And so, if I would have a magic wand, then putting that piece of information, because the science is there, we all
Hmm.
know the health risks, but also know the health benefits. You know,
Yeah.
I always say that a farmer is the pharmacist of the future,
Mm,
and
love that.
then
Love that.
there is
The pharmacist of the future.
the
It's great.
pharmacist.
Yeah. Yeah. Pharmacist.
And it's Hippocrates, I think, that said that or your food will be your medicine, or your medicine will become your food. And if people would act on that knowledge, which has been around for 2000 years or more,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how long ago Hippocrates said that, but a long time ago. Um, if people would know that, then we'd live in a totally different world. We won't put PFAS chemicals on our non-sticking pans
Hmm.
that by every scratches on your pan is literally killing you slowly. We won't put pollutants in the air, and that's the thing with climate change. People, they don't have an emotional connection with climate change because it's hard to grasp or to feel or to
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
But it is easy to notice that your child has leukemia because the school is too close to farmers who are spraying pesticides. And it's not the fault of the farmer that we're stuck in this. It's the farmer is kind of forced into this paradigm because it's
Yeah.
how things historically have grown and they're in depth. And so we can't be angry with farmers on it, but we can be angry with ourselves, we can be angry with governments, we can be angry with the food industry, and we can have anger. It's not bad to feel that anger. I feel
Yeah.
anger too every time I hear stories about children getting sick or even dying. There was a child who died not too long ago in France because her mother got pesticide residue on her during pregnancy. The kid was only 11 years old. She battled for 6 years with cancer. It's horrible, these stories. It makes me so freaking angry, but we have to use that anger to change things,
Yeah.
and we all can change things. There are people who are changing things and who showed that it's possible to change things. There's a farmer who was fed up with having residues of pesticides of the neighbors coming onto his apples, and he inspired his entire village to become pesticides free. He did it. If he can do it, everybody can do it. So
That's amazing.
these are nice examples. We have to
Yeah.
follow those
And
examples.
we need these examples, right? I mean, use cases is a lot what we do at the Grow. At Grow is, we don't talk about what we can do in the future. We talk about the use cases that we have done because people can. It's
Yeah,
tangible, right? And people can
definitely.
understand. One of the things that I just read today was the result of a multi-year and maybe even multi-decade study. I'd have to go back and read it. It was called the Global Glyphosate Study.
Hmm.
So glyphosatestudy.org was the website. But really, it's going to be a game changer because it alludes to everything you talk about. Of course, chemistry. Glyphosate's only one of many of the chemistries that goes down. But we need to um, start making changes and quickly, right? We can be angry not at the farmer, but at these chemistries that claim things and didn't have enough rigor of science behind it. And I often talk about we've had two brains, and you brought up Aristotle, so I'll bring up some two other prolific individuals, Plato and Aristotle as well. Uh, Aristotle being the student of Plato, right? And Plato came from the standpoint that he believed in humanity. He believed in us creating grace around the things that we could and couldn't support. And Aristotle sort of, went to this premise that we need to be rewarded for humans to make change. And I think today that holds true more than ever before, right? And we've hit this tipping point, particularly in our food and in our agriculture systems, where to make the changes we need to create reward mechanisms. And so what are those
Mm-hmm.
reward mechanisms that we see? Well, the case studies can help us, if we're building case studies that are the reward because they have good reporting data that allows us to understand what we need to do. But what are some of the other things from your perspective that we can do to continue to incentivize people to focus on soil, whether it's right outside your door and on your home, whether it's a farm, whether it's the park? What are things that you think we can do to continue to incentivize people to focus on soil?
Well, people are always thinking, what's in it for me? That's a very natural thing to think.
Mm.
I also have this tendency to think, okay, what are my personal benefits if I would do this or that? It's, I think, something very natural. What are the benefits for my family? And you always have to look at like quick wins. What are the easiest things to do? And you can start super small. And it was funny. Last week I was speaking for a group of high net worth individuals who are impact investors, around 100, 200 people. And I was talking about soil health, about the future of food. And I also gave them investing advice, which was funny because I don't have an investment background. But I did set to them, you know what the best investment is? It only takes 15 minutes of your time, maybe $50. You get a nut tree, you put it in the ground, and you're gonna have nuts for the rest of your life, for the rest of your children's life, your grandchildren's life, your grandchildren's life, and maybe even your grandchildren's life. So it's like the most crazy investment you can make. Keeps on giving a return. It doesn't only give you nuts, it also repels mosquitoes. It also cools down your garden. It also creates more rain. Maybe one tree won't create more rain, but if a lot of people will plant more trees, they will create more rain because of the biotic pump system. And it will create nature, of course, biodiversity as well. So you have all these benefits by only like spending 15 minutes of your time and $50, or even less, because you can find cheaper walnut trees than $50.
Yeah.
And I'm saying a walnut tree right now, but it could be any tree. It could be an apple tree, it could be an olive tree. If you live more Mediterranean, then it can even grow to 1,000 years old, which some olive trees are. It's super crazy.
Yeah.
So that's like the easiest step you can take. And if you don't have a big garden, a small tree can also provide food for 50, 100 years, like a small apple tree. So that's a very easy thing you can do. Another easy thing you can do is, if you think about soil, you can also they always say you have to put the right seed in the right soil.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same with humans and pregnancy. You have to put the right seed in the right soil. A very important group of people that are highly influenceable, you can highly influence them, are people who want to get pregnant. And I'm not just talking about a woman, but also about a man. If you want to become pregnant, the chance to get pregnant is much bigger if you eat organic food. Your sperm quality as a man is much better if you eat organic, if you eat good food. You really do your wife a favor to eat healthy 9 months prior to making her pregnant. These are things that are not often talked about, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
If you are more exposed to pesticides as a woman before or during pregnancy, you have more chance that your son will have a deformed penis, will have cryptochidia or hypospadias. It's a disease where you have a penis deformation. Don't Google it. Um, it's horrible if
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
spend your first years with your baby in hospitals to fix that. They have more chance to have neurological defects, and these are, people are being scaremongered for a lot of things, and it's a lot of people say, oh yeah, and ketchup is a carcinogen, and if you too much apples, it's a carcinogen. Yeah, everything is a carcinogen. I don't care anymore. But when it gets real, and especially during pregnancy, people really make a change. I know people who are chain smokers, they stop smoking just in an instant. Say, okay, now I have a baby, I stop smoking without any problem, then if they can stop smoking, they can certainly say, okay, now I'm gonna buy organic, with all the money saved of the cigarettes now. You pay a little bit more to get organic food. So these are these small quick wins you can do to create a better soil out there, but also a better soil in yourself. Because if you're happier and if you're healthier, then you have more money as well, because going to hospitals, it costs a lot of money as well, and even if you're lucky to live in a country where your medical bills are paid, you also lose time by going there, and time is money, or is value, because money it's just a coin or a note, but money you can earn back, but time you cannot earn back. Once your minute is over, you can never get that minute back, so it's even more important than money time.
Yeah. I mean, these are all great questions. And while you were talking, by the way, I just quickly pulled up. The oldest tree is indeed an olive tree. It's in Crete in Greece. And they estimate it to be nearly 3,000 years old, and it's still producing olives to this day. So you're bang on that. Yeah. We have...
it's crazy.
Yeah. In Canada, we have pine nuts, which is a really good industry.
Oh, yeah, love them. Love them.
But it takes nearly 10 to 15 years for it to start producing. So it's a long-term investment, right? But really worth it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're now talking trees, which is one of my biggest pet peeves, I really love food producing trees. One of the most important things there is, people say, but you have to wait 15 years. Well, they always say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. But it's also to plant quick wins. So when we go out and design a food forest system for our clients, or like agroforestry or forest garden, you plant the trees that's going to produce food in 15 years. But at the same time, you also plant trees and shrubs that are going to produce food in 1 year or in 2 years or in 3 years. So you always keep them fed during the way towards the bigger trees.
Maybe we have a lot of farmers within the Grow audience and our ecosystem. Maybe you can talk a little bit about agroforestry. I mean, it's a term that sort of has polarization. People are aware of it, but don't quite understand how to integrate, or they've heard silvopasture, but what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe you can just give some quick thoughts on agroforestry and how that really does add beneficial capabilities for the soil and the environment.
Yeah, definitely. So from an ecological standpoint, there's an economical standpoint as well. I'm going to get to there in a minute.
Great.
And from an ecological standpoint, if you look at nature, annuals, plants that only live 1 year, if you harvest them, the annuals, they will not come back. You have to reseed them. It's like with cereals. If you harvest your cereals, they won't come back. Right. You have to replant them. Yeah. We all know that, and it sucks. It's a lot of work, and you have to retill the soil if you do a tilling system, or have to fertilize, whatever. It's a lot of work. If you look at nature, annuals, they only exist when the soil has been disturbed. Then annuals come in as fast as possible because they're the sprinters. They see, oh my God, there's a free space. We have to occupy that and make our seeds as quick as possible. That's why we love annuals, because you plant them, you get seeds very quickly. But after a couple of years, you have this natural succession. After annuals, you get perennial herbs, then you get little bushes, then you get bigger shrubs, then you get small trees, then you get the big trees. If you look at pictures from Chernobyl, where you had this nuclear disaster, the entire city of Chernobyl is now a forest. It's beautiful to see how nature has taken over, and everything actually, definitely in temperate climates, it becomes a forest. So in order to keep our diet that we have today, which is mostly based on annuals, if we want to keep that, we need to keep on disturbing the soil, and that's why we're in really big trouble. That's why dust bowls are coming back. I just heard from an American woman 2 weeks ago that there was a dust bowl in her village, a small one, because we didn't take care from the soil. I have friends who are in the region in Spain that's so degraded that's like they have only maybe 3 harvests left if they don't do anything special there. A lot of people have just like moved to the city and abandoned their land. United Nations predict that in 25 years 90% of the earth will be degraded, and a lot of this is because we have annuals. Annuals are sprinters, but they're very demanding of the soil. Perennials, and we all know perennials from like trees in agroforestry, but you also have perennials like rhubarb or asparagus. They make deeper roots. They're much more resilient to weather extremes. They need less maintenance. You don't have to replant them year after year or resow them year after year. And they keep on producing no matter what happens. And the polarization, having agroforestry on fields, there is actually no need of polarization. For me, it's actually the opposite of polarization, because you bring several worlds together.
Right.
A beautiful example is actually the friends I have in the south of Spain, but there are plenty of examples in the United States or Canada as well. Their normal annual crops, because of weather extremes, they had a lot of crop losses and crop failures, and they had to diversify. So it's one of the old adages that you have to bet on different horses. That's one thing. If you only bet on trees and there's a hurricane and it wipes out all your trees, then you have to wait for 15 years again, and then you're screwed. You don't want that.
Right.
So we can't base all our food on trees, but we also can't base all our food on annuals, because then what's happening right now is that everything is being degraded. We don't want that. So we need to have a healthy mix. We need the sprinters, the annuals, but we also need the marathon runners, the trees. And they help each other. You can have the exact same yield of your annual plants or your pasture, depending what you have, and have trees at the same time. So it's like, okay, I have my income just like I had normally, plus I have an extra income. Who doesn't want an extra income? Look, I'm a business owner as well. I always want extra income. If they're giving me extra income, I'm like, okay, I don't mind. Give me the extra income. So if you put trees on your land, you can have an extra crop. For example, nuts, one of my favorite examples, because it's pretty easy to harvest and to store. But you, at the end of the ride, and of course 50 years, it might be for your children, you also have high quality wood that you can sell, and then you can start over again. The same with pasture. If you have cows, for example, the cow comfort is much higher if you have trees in your meadow, and they actually produce more because they have less stress of the heat in summer. For example, they produce more milk. They produce better meat. So it's like this win-win-win situation in so many ways. The disease prevention is crazy. I know a farmer in the United Kingdom, in England, where they have potatoes between rows of trees, and these trees actually they are like a fence that stop the Phytophthora fungi spores from entering the field. Like the first row still is a little bit affected by the Phytophthora. The second one, there's maybe a few of the plants, but after that there's like zero Phytophthora. Why? Because the trees simply stop the spores from neighboring fields from entering. You have less wind erosion. You have more humidity, or less humidity if you want it, if you have a good design. everything starts with a good design, of course. And if you have less wind, if you have more humidity, you need to give less water, and you have the carbon buildup because of these trees, and makes it turns your soil more into a sponge. So if you have a longer dry period, then you have a longer bridge until it rains again. And because of the trees, you get more fungi, and we all know, or I hope most of the people know by now, that I'm sitting here, I want a beer. I would like to get a beer, but my arm is only like so long. Imagine if I could make my arm 100 times longer and get the beer from next door. I would be very happy, but I can't. But the plant can get a beer 100 times longer by just connecting to a fungi, and that fungi will get uh, water from much deeper, and the fungi will make the plant roots 100 times longer.
Right.
So you have all these benefits, and not just for plants, also for So I already talked about cows, which are actually forest animals. The same with chickens. Chickens perform much better if they're under trees. They're forest animals, and
Right.
there's like only advantages. There are no disadvantages, but because even if you want to keep on spraying and keep on doing the chemical way of agriculture you're doing today, which is fine if it's your context and you can't change anything about it, even if that's your case, you can just keep on continue, but just add the extra layer.
Yeah, I really like that. And sometimes I think we demonize farmers, that are still conventional, and they just may not have a means, right? They're running on
Yeah, of
tight
course.
budgets, and they got to put food on the table, and so providing these quick wins, as you say, I think is very important, and this extra layer of connectivity. One of the
Yeah.
things I wanted to explore with you is this belief I am seeing more and more as I talk to people globally about soil, and it being connected purely to carbon.
Hmm.
Uh, we have this wonderful world of carbon markets and carbon credits, and but often I hear soil health, or people focused on soil, and immediately it's just it's a carbon play, and the only reason you're focusing on is the carbon credits. And I'd love to get your thoughts on that, because it's something that drives me a bit crazy. Of course, you and I would
Yeah.
know that it's a cycle, right? Carbon goes down and gets respired by the soil, but
Hmm.
yeah, we'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one, because people get mad about carbon. It's like the only thing that matters for some people.
Yeah.
Uh, we call it the carbon tunnel syndrome.
Yes.
They look through carbon tunnel. They only look at carbon, but the reality is there is just so much more. Uh, if you look at carbon credits, I'm not totally against carbon credits, because I know projects that have been financed because of these carbon credits that would otherwise never got financed. So it can be a lever
Yeah.
to help certain project get the money to invest in trees, for example. So for that, I don't think there is a lot wrong with it. There can be things wrong with it, and there can be corruption, and there can be some things that I sometimes hear. For example, I just heard a story today, actually, from farmers in New Zealand that get money from airlines to like remove their cows and just plant trees,
Hmm.
so people don't feel guilty about flying anymore. And then you just get a forest and don't have food production anymore. So sometimes there are things that I don't think are ideal. But a lot of the time it can be good. It's like with everything. It's like a knife. You can use it to put butter on your bread, or you can kill somebody with it.
Right.
It's the same with carbon.
Yeah.
Probably can't kill somebody with carbon credits. But so yeah, carbon credits. It's something that people get focused on, but the even if you take away the entire carbon story, um, it makes sense to invest in your soil,
Mm.
even pure economically. I'm going to tell you a story about a farmer that I know for a little while now that has stopped tilling the earth for about, I think, 15 years, maybe even 20 years.
Hmm.
And because of the soil life that exploded because of it, and also the carbon content that's exploded. Um, the soil is turned into a sponge. It's much more healthy. When you have a big population of soil life, the bad guys are actually in a minority. It's like with people. Most people are good. We have some rotten apples in humanity,
All right.
but it's the good people that keep these rotten apples in check, mostly. Sometimes they try and do some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same in soil life. The minority is bad, the majority is good. And so this farmer, by not plowing anymore, by reducing his chemicals, reducing his tractor passages, the good guys are so big in numbers that the bad guys almost don't stand a chance, and he has less disease, which means he saves so much money. He saves money on diesel
Right.
because he doesn't need to plow anymore. He also saves on pesticides and chemicals. I think his pesticides are diminished by 50%, 75%. The same with fertilizers, also about the same number, 50%. Imagine if you have 1,000 acres. Do your calculation. If you like can cut the cost of your fertilizers and your pesticides by 50%. I know farmers who can buy a Porsche car every year by just doing this, you know?
Yeah.
There are so many better things to give your money to, and the harvests are similar, are very similar
Yeah.
to the harvest they had before. The inputs are just way lower. And how did that happen? Well, they went into a new paradigm, and that's the thing we all need to do. We need to go to a new paradigm, and instead of fighting nature, we need to work together with nature.
Yeah.
And we need to put nature to work. Nature works for us for free. We don't have to pay nature. Nature just wants to work.
Yes.
There's little fungi, they want to help the plants establish better roots because they get free food from these plants in exchange. Up to 40% of all the plant nutrients the plant creates by doing photosynthesis, it injects into the soil. Up to 40%.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And that's just free food for this soil bacteria and fungi. So they're super happy. They say, ooh, nice. If I help these plants get longer roots, they will give us more food because the plant will grow. So it's very egoistical from these fungi. It's in their own self-interest that they actually help the plant grow deeper roots, and we as a farmer are of course super happy. And they're also going to protect their food source. They're going to say, imagine you give me a free donut every day. I love donuts. I'm super happy. Thank you for this donut. And I see another guy who's like bullying you. Imagine what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let that guy bully you. I'm going to say, hey, he's my friend. He gives me a donut every day. Leave him alone, or I'm going to bully you, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what happens in the soil life. They're like, hey, that plant is my friend. Don't attack it, or I'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's happening. So all these mechanisms, they go on for free. They love it. It's working together, and I'm just talking about one thing. There are like hundreds of different of ways to capitalize on nature services that they provide for free. It's just I would love to print a t-shirt one day for myself and for other people. Why pay it if you can get it for free? Because nature is doing all this beautiful work, and we like say, oh, you have all this beautiful nature who does it for free, but still I'm gonna pay people to do it anyway. It's like, no, it doesn't make economical sense at all.
I totally agree with you. Totally. And I really like how you've presented that. And one of the things I focus on and talk about a lot is for people that aren't in agriculture, just going and putting your hands into the soil, like having a flower bed or a pot of with a plant in it, but actually getting your hands into the dirt creates this connectivity that feels different, right? Like you can and though that some of those pots might have Miracle Grow and too much the wrong thing, it's still getting tactile, right, and touching soil. But it's amazing to me, and you probably have experienced this, when you start looking at soil that is rehabilitated or regenerated or has a healthier functionality, the smell of it is something that
Hmm.
is it's undeniably unique from anything else that I've smelt, and this
Yeah.
goes into everything, right? It to me is an indicator of how good the food's going to taste that we're going to grow out of it, and what that environment's going to feel like. Do you get into, or have you in your studies and exploration, the energy that the soils produce or give off?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, yeah. There's a, and it's even scientifically proven. You know, the first time I heard it, I thought it was some mumbo jumbo, but it's even scientifical proven that if you touch the soil, if you make contact with it, you actually get in touch with a bacterium called Mycobacterium vaccae, and it actually produces serotonin in your body.
mm,
Which is your happiness hormone. It's a neurotransmitter that regulates your mood. So literally being in touch with the soil, inhaling the smell, feeling it, touching it, it gets absorbed by you. It makes you happy. It's an antidepressant.
hmm
So yeah, 100%. And then of course there's also something that for example the yogi people do. They earth. They walk barefoot on the ground, or they even lie down on the ground
yeah,
to get in touch with the soil. Don't know how much that is scientifically proved, but it works. I know a lot of people who do it, and those are people who are running giant corporations, who are top CEOs. They're doing it every morning before they
yeah,
they they run their multi-billion companies. So there must be doing something good. There must be something working. I feel it myself. I love to walk barefoot in the forest or on the beach. It just
yeah,
makes you more calm. Is it something psychologically or physically or energetically? I Probably it's something energetically.
hmm
So because we haven't like scientifically found out yet that it couldn't be the case. Well, for me, the truth is what works, and it works. So not afraid to admit that.
yeah. No, that's great. That's great, and I feel much the same. What One of the things that I find very interesting is you talk to a lot of individuals and a vast array of different hierarchies, right? You've got the high net worth individuals you were mentioning, CEOs of corporation, farmers, gardeners. I'm very curious for those in business and maybe like the individuals of more affluence, call them high net worth. What's their attraction to soil? Like what's that connection point for them, and why do they want to engage with you?
What I experience is that no matter which level people are on, and I'm not talking about higher or lower, just different
Yeah,
spectrums. Like you have a biodiversity. Everything is good. Everybody's good. um the thing they all have in common is they want to do something good.
mm,
From deep in our heart, we all want to contribute. We all want to do something good. And for the people who get in touch with me, they just realize that it all goes back to soil. No matter if you want to build a spaceship to go to Mars, in the morning you still need to have your breakfast,
right.
or at least your lunch if you do the intermittent fasting thing. And you still need your health. And where does it all come from? From soil. Happiness comes from soil. 90% of serotonin, this happiness hormone I just talked about, is created in your gut.
Right.
It's created in our gut. And if we eat shitty food, then we have a shitty gut. And then we won't be happy.
Yeah.
So we have something called the brain gut axis. Whatever happens in our gut has an effect on the brain. So even our thinking, our concentration, it all connected with the gut. So it all starts with good foods. And most of the clients that contact me for, whether it's their garden or their private island to regenerate, they figured that out.
Mm,
And healthy food is a big part of it. Some people have all the riches they have, but they go and buy food in a supermarket which has been sprayed 50 times.
yeah.
um, and I'm like, yeah, well, how rich are you if you eat this crappy food? For me, being rich, for everybody personally, it's something different. But for me, being rich, the first thing that comes into mind of being rich is be able to buy real food that has not been poisoned. For me, that's like the basic thing of being rich, and a lot of people figured that out, and also prioritize this. Even if they don't have a lot of money, they're like, okay, well, if I have a little food forest in my garden, I can go out every morning, take a walk through that garden. I can take berries because we've developed a system that you can harvest the entire year by choosing the right varieties.
Right.
You always have something, except if it's winter, of course, then everything is dormant. But even then, you have food that you can store, or you can
For sure.
process and create something for winter. But that's like true riches. You wake up, you get out, you pick some strawberries, some raspberries, some fennel. You put it in a smoothie. You drink the smoothie, or you put it in your granola bowl. You have your granola. Um, or you get a fresh egg from your chickens that you give food waste to. You pick some chives, and you take some leaves from the chicken soup tree, for example. You mix it in a little omelette you can have for breakfast. That is true riches, and that's what a lot of people also ask us to do, to create it for themselves, but also create for their clients. We also have a lot of clients in the hotel industry or in the restaurant industry, because they want to give that same experience to hotel guests. A lot of people have been to a lot of very nice hotels, but at the end it's becoming very similar. Or even the very high fancy hotels, the materials might be cooler and more chic, but at the end people are always looking for new experiences that touch people.
Yes.
And my biggest goal is to touch people and to try to find these moments where people can really have this quantum leap, can really like make this quantum jump, and like have this click in their minds. And one of the most crazy things I like to do with people is to take them on a wild picking tour. I don't do it that often because I don't have so much time, but I've done this with top CEOs. But I also did it with children from a very poor background. In Belgium, we have a royal palace where the king still lives. He's not really reigning in Belgium, but he's still like an important figure. And he decided to open up his palace door, especially for children of the capital city, Brussels, so they can experience more nature. I gave a tour to these children, and they didn't even know what the stinging nettle was.
Oh, wow.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But the moment I said, "Well, try it; it will sting you," they're like, "Oh my god, it stings! How crazy is that?" And then I said, "Okay, but I'm gonna show you a technique how you can eat the stinging nettle raw without it stinging you in your mouth." They're like, "Oh my god, really? Will I dare to do that?" And then yeah, they dare to do it, and they're like, "Oh my god, tastes like beans." And so I did it. I did it with children from a poor background, but I also did that with top CEOs, and the result is always the same. They say, "Oh my god, I've passed this greenery like thousands of times. I just thought it was greenery, but now I know. Oh, this leaf is edible. I can now put it in my salad." Or I know, ooh, this berry is edible, but the seeds, if I eat 3 seeds, I will die. So I'll be careful. So once you have this, it really changes something in people's minds. And for me, that's why having people really connected, they always say love goes through the stomach. I believe this 100%. And that's why I love to take people and even to their own garden, because a lot of it's edible already. And I say, okay, that's edible. Let's try it. Oh, I have a problem with this plant. I say, yeah, no. You don't have a problem with this plant. You just don't know the recipe yet.
Right.
I'm going to show you how you can make pesto with it. Then it's like free food forever, And they're like, okay, that's another way of thinking about it. I'm going to cancel my order for pesticides to kill that plant. And so, yeah, that's just so much value,
Absolutely. I love that. That's beautiful. We're getting nearing the end of our discussion here, and you've shared with us so much amazing information. But I would love to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your book that you just released, SOS Save Our Soils. and tell our audience a little bit about it, and where they can go find it, and why it should be part of their reading curriculum here in the near future.
Yeah, no, with pleasure. So, yeah, the book is called SOS Save Our Soils: How Regenerative Farming Can Heal You, but also can heal the planet. And for me, when I was 18 years old, I really wanted to change something in for food, health, agriculture, but I was naive. I didn't know all the facts. I also thought that the farmer was the culprit. I was just I didn't know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's normally when you're 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually wished that my book was already written, that I could just like read it in a super simple language without all the scientific lingo, because that's sometimes impossible to read.
Yeah.
Definitely for younger people, or even for older people, science can be difficult. And so I went on a fantastic adventure to find all these all these answers myself. So actually, I was happy that the book wasn't written, so I could I could write it myself.
Yeah.
And so I created this manual full of inspiring stories of farmers, of professors, of people like you and me who make a difference, and tell about these principles. A few of them we already touched on, in a very clear and simple language. And the nice thing is, it's there's a foreword of Alan Savory in it, one of my heroes he's a like invented regenerative grazing,
Yeah.
has been endorsed by a lot of other people in the farming world or the nature world.
Yeah.
So super happy with that. And for me, that book, you can read it in one day. Even if you're 10 years old, you can understand it. It's written in very simple language, and it's an entire universe that I would like to invite your listener to. It's an entire universe that you will meet so many people without having to meet them in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And you will get to know, oh, that's Vandana Shiva. Oh, she did that and that. Oh, that's David Montgomery. He did that and that. Oh, that's Alan Savory. He did this, and that. Oh, that's a Native American guy. Oh my God, what a crazy guy. He has so much wisdom. By reading it, you have the feeling that you are there as well, and by listening to their stories, you'll be touched by them, and you also will know what you're talking about. And for me, that was one of the most important things. I wanted to know what I was talking about. As a young guy, I also must admit, it's also a bit ego that I also wanted to win discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have the good arguments to win my discussions. Well, if you read that book, you'll have all the arguments to win all the discussions, and those annoying uh, moments when people are saying, "Yeah, but it's all bullshit," or this, and then you're like, well,
Yeah.
let's have a chat.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I highly recommend everyone listening here to go out and grab your copy. You can find it online. Where can you find it?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. So super easy. You can buy it as a regular physical book or as an ebook, and it's the release date is the 24th of June. So yeah, then I hope that it will create a soil revolution, and I really hope that you're part of it. And
Amazing.
I'm also very curious. Let me know how how you the persons listening to it to this podcast will do something about it. And always, like at the end of the book, there are some like call to actions of things you can do yourself, very easy to do stuff. And I'd love to hear a story of like, oh, I read that book and I started a revolution. This is what I did. That's my biggest hope, that it will like start something,
Yeah, I like that. And if people do have stories, if they get inspired and they go out there, how can they reach you, Louis? Where's the best spot?
At the end of the book, I just wrote down my email address.
Fantastic.
So
yeah, that works.
Happy to get it.
That works. You must read the book to get to the email address. Listen, I really appreciated getting to know a bit more about you and you sharing your information with us, and certainly the book. Highly encourage everyone listening, again, go get your copy, have discussions with us, and then let's share with Louis, about the revolutions and the Renaissance movements that we create together. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
and enjoy the rest of your day today.
Yeah, thanks for the great talk. Bye, Neil.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Grow Renaissance podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this episode. Remember, it will take a community of us to do the best in the world and truly nourish not only ourselves, but the planet, the atmosphere, the soil, the plants, and the animals on it. So make sure you spread this message anywhere that you can.